I'm just over here vibing to the music. and and I also made the mistake of putting a little bit too much food in my mouth right before coming on, so I had to chew and bop for just a second there. Just I'm like super ready today. The keen-eyed amongst you might have noticed that I actually scheduled this properly so that I think a couple people were already in, which is super cool. And there we go. Of course, I can't schedule it in the group because Facebook is pooey, but people did join in right from my profile. And we also are streaming a special version of this for people who are members of our school um, membership, who are part of our school membership, school SKOOL. Um, and those folks we're going to have like an after the lunch with Mal additional talk at that point too. So if you're interested ever in getting in on something like the lunch with Mal talk, um, you absolutely can. And looks like Jill, I mean, the additional, the after, is it like, it's not like after dark because it's noon. It's like afternoon Central Standard Time. I don't know, like it's instead of after dark. I'm working on it. We're workshopping a title here, you know. But the extended play of Lunch the Mouth. If you're ever interested in that, you can get in on our school program, and you can go to storytellerlab.net to sign up for that too. After the show, yeah, an after show, an after party. I like that. I'm rolling with that. So, wow, we are already up at like 15 people, which is pretty cool for this early on. So, hey, William, how are you doing today? Um, if you want to hang out for the after show thing, William, as well, there's a link in school for for YouTube, which is where that will be happening. And for those of you who are already there on YouTube, it will just continue going. Um, I'll be doing like the thing where I carefully stop the right parts of the stream and hopefully don't end the stream everywhere. I'm pretty sure I'll do it correctly. Um, anyway, so yeah, something that's sort of come up lately a lot is marketing to niches. And interesting timing, Facebook is again removing some interests. So that's all. Whenever you're marketing, you're in a niche. Whenever like Facebook or anybody else removes some of the niches or some of the interests, you're like worried. You're like, are these interests that I use for targeting in my niche? And I don't have the full list yet. I've just seen it hit a couple of clients, and the ad manager interface glitched, and I couldn't actually see which things were being removed. But I've only seen a couple of clients, so I think it's probably like not a broad removal. But we've gone through a few of these in the past, where Facebook will come through and they'll remove some of the targets that that we use for our ads, and it can be stressful, right? Because if you have ads that are running, um, and suddenly Facebook's like, yeah, this target you're using, this author name, this subgenre, something like that is going away. You can understandably get kind of worried that it's going to affect your ads and your of course your ad performance going forward. And that is sort of like the ongoing risk, right, that we have of not being in like full control of our customers. And that's sort of, there are ways around that, like going like direct sales and stuff like that. But in many regards, as authors, we don't have like a really strong and clear relationship to our customers. Not like someone who sells cars or something like that, who knows everything about their customers and can reach them anytime. Um, we are a little bit more dependent on sort of like a host and suite of systems that are going to get our books in front of our target readers. And whenever anything like that kind of feels like it's failing, it can cause some concern. So I am here. Um, oh, all right, Jill's in chat. She can handle William's question because I don't know. It's in the calendar, I thought. Anyway, it can be stressful, worrying that like the targets you're using might go away, or that something in an algorithm is going to change. I feel like algorithm is sort of like, in a lot of author circles, is turned into a bit of a boogeyman kind of statement, or the very least like a statement that is unclear and muddy, and is sort of like just used to describe like the looming cloud on the horizon, and or the hand of God that might come down and touch you, right? Like it has those two things. Um, and really it's just a calculation that a software engineer wrote to try and make the thing do what his boss told him to make it do. or in many cases on the larger platforms, a team of software engineers wrote. I don't know why I default to the software engineer being a he. There's a lot of girls out there who are software engineers now. Um, Again, there used to be a lot more. There actually was a lot of women doing software engineering in the 80s and 90s, and it really died out after that. The women in the field, that is, but they're starting to come back. Anyway, Mel and her segues. Um, so what can you do, right? Like you worry, what can I do when these things change underneath me? And one that happened a while ago, I want to say it was before the 2022 election, if memory serves, was the removal of religious options for targeting, and the removal of religious options and political options, religious, political, and like lifestyle slash social slash gender slash sexuality options. So, you couldn't target someone because they were Democrat or Republican. You couldn't target someone because they were Christian or Muslim anymore. You couldn't target someone because they were queer in some fashion anymore. And they kind of went through and scrubbed out all sorts of things having to do with that. Now, there are some end runs you can do around that, like you can target certain magazines and TV shows and movies that are related to each other, like the Left Behind series for Christian stuff, or RuPaul's Drag Show, or you could probably target Lady Gaga and stuff like that. So chances are people who are into Lady Gaga are probably like a little bit more socially left leaning than not. So you've always been able to like have some ways around. Oh yeah, William, you found it. Awesome. Hey Rosa, how are you doing? But it's still, if you're writing romance, targeting RuPaul's Drag Show is not really the best option out there. Um, and so you kind of worry, like, how can you do it? And I think a lot of people enter into despair, and figure that like what they're writing is just not marketable. So I want to take what I consider to not be, it's not the smallest niche out there by a long shot, but it is definitely a niche genre, and that's romance. I know a lot of people have had trouble with romance for some time. Good morning, Stephanie. Um, by the way, anyone, feel free to sound off. Let me know who you are, where you're from, all that jazz. I like to say hi to everybody. But I want to show just some results from some recent romance ads that I've been running, and kind of talk a bit about how I've gotten them. And you might be thinking, well, I don't write romance, Mal, but hopefully there's gonna be some things in here that'll be applicable for you as well, that you'll be able to translate into things that you can try. Hey Al. All right. Share screen. See if it'll share the right screen. There we go. Poof. Okay, I'm gonna stick me in the corner. No, more in the corner. Like that? I guess this is as good as it's gonna get. Because I have a super wide screen, so we get the pillar boxing on the sides, unfortunately. I want to be on the left. I like being on the left. I'm smaller. All right, so ad success. Now, it's worth noting that there's more than one type of romance. And not to put too fine a point on it, there's romance that's written for straight women, and there's romance that's written for gay men. And there's a gray area in the middle, of those two things as well. But what I'm going to be talking about in this particular case is more of the romance that's made for straight women, which is the larger of the two genres, I'd say. So here's a client's ads, where we started the ads for them just this past September. So this client, we kicked off with them going into the election season, which is not the most optimal time, but we've actually had pretty good success. And you can see that, so this is the attribution system, Amazon attribution. If anyone's not familiar with it, you can make these attribution links that you can use with your ads on Facebook or anywhere else for that matter, that lets you, at least, and which is most places. And it doesn't capture all of the reads and all of the sales, but
All right. How's about now, everyone? Can you hear me now? Test, test. Yes. Okay. All right. So my microphone hates me, as it turns out. I thought I had it fixed, but it's not fixed. So, all right, good, good. It's it was supposed to switch to my webcam microphone right away, but then it didn't, and then it did, and then it was muted, and chaos ensued. But we're back. All right. So so this particular client, like I was mentioning, the blue line represents clicks. There was a bit of a dip mid-October, I want to say. I guess not. I guess yeah, it would have been October 11th, and that was because this particular client didn't want to use AI art for their ads, and we somehow it failed to have that conversation, and so I turned off a bunch of their ads and then turned them back on. Interestingly, in this case, I'm rather glad to see it. The non AI art actually did really well, and has taken off quite a bit. So I also duplicated and made some additional ads as well. So I made a few more ads. So that's why the blue line jumped so much. But it's really nice to see that green reads line climb at the same rate. So I'm very happy with this. And this, just to kind of give you guys an idea, we're looking here at oops, went too far, bumped the wrong button. So we're looking at 421 clicks on yesterday, and we got 21,252 pages read. Now, kind of the number that I go for when I'm running Facebook ads and using attribution to track them. Hopefully, everybody can hear me on YouTube now too. If you can, let me know, um, and I'll be happy if you can. And if you can't, I won't see any messages and I'll be sad. Um, but the number I generally look for is about 10 pages read per click. And this is kind of a useful number because it doesn't matter if you're in KU, it doesn't really matter if your books are long or short or anything like that. That 10 pages read per click number is an indicator of whether or not you're getting enough page reads that with read through and what ends up getting missed by this tracking system. It means that you're probably doing all right. Um, and it's sort of is a bit of an equalizer number. Now, of course, for 10 pages per click to be profitable, you probably need to have a CPC under 20 cents per click, and you probably need to have either 3 long books in a trilogy, and by long I mean over 100,000 words, or 5 shorter books like 70, 80,000 words in a series. Yeah, unfortunately, this microphone isn't the best, so we'll all have to make do. Um, so that 10 pages read per click, if I was to get 10 pages read per click, just by multiplying my number of clicks, 421 by 10, that would only be 4,000 pages read per click necessary to get that. I'm getting 5 times that number for this author. This author is getting 50 pages read per click. And so what that means is that this is, a very profitable set of ads that we're running for them here. They're probably at this point tripling, possibly quadrupling their number in a niche genre, in romance. So, and again, I think I should, not again, I hadn't said this before, I should pause and say, like, some of it's the book, right? Like, because I work with authors where the book wasn't as good as it could be, and the read through wasn't great, and the best ads in the world can't make that work. However, this is a scenario where I had basically, other than using AI art, carte blanche from the author to be as forthright about what these books are as possible, and I'm going to get into that a bit more, and then also to basically just I kind of got free reign to kind of market them how I want, and so I was very clear about what the books are about in both my imagery and my text, and I got the right people, and they dove in and are all about the books. So let's go to the next slide. This one is an ad that I started on October 1st, and you can see that it has done exceptionally well. It petered out a bit again between the 11th and 13th because we had to pull out a bunch of the images. This one didn't have to stop entirely because there were a couple of non-AI art images in there. I'm going to show you guys the images that I ended up selecting for these things too. But then once I got the new images running, they are, and the cool thing with the new images, I went sexier than I did with the AI art. The AI art images were more like 2 guys looking friendly with each other. When I went and got stock photos, I just got two dudes getting romantic, and worked even better. And it was already working well, but it worked even better, as you can see by these numbers here. Like we're very early on with this particular ad, and we're up at 15 pages read per click, which is great. And if the behavior it had yesterday continues, and that is probably a spike, I'm not expecting to see that line continue to go up, but it's very promising for this particular ad. And then this is the mainstay ad. This particular ad is for a series that's like 8 or 9 books long, and we are getting 100 pages read per click. Am I doing my math right on this? I feel like it's too good to be true, and I wanted to double check my math on this. I know it seems ridiculous, right? Like you should just be able to divide this by 10 or multiply by 10, but yeah, it is. It's 98 pages read per click, which tells you like the power of a really well written series that is like grabbing readers, and then the marketing for the series, which includes the blurb and the cover and the title and everything like that, is really just on the nose about what the series is about. This particular series is all of this author's books seem to very strongly trend around dude who thought he was straight ends up discovering that he's bi and or gay. And that's something we present really clearly at every turn. So the people who want that are very happily getting that. But to have 100 clicks and get 10,000 pages read in a day off those 100 clicks, and that means it's probably actually getting about 20,000 pages read off 100 clicks is phenomenal. And I'm ridiculously excited about that. The other really cool thing too is the read through is super strong, and I suspect will continue to grow. So the red line on here is where the series ends, and then the 3 books underneath that are actually book ones in other series by the author. And so you can see like book 1 to book 2 is super strong. Book 4 to 5, things drop a bit. There might have been something the author did there that wasn't optimal, or it could also be that this particular ad, only being about 20 days old, a lot of the readers just haven't made it that deep into the series yet. So another month or so will tell. Do we continue to see this rather precipitous drop from 5,000 pages read? Although we see a bigger drop actually from 1 to 2, which is normal. But just sort of seeing 4,000, 4,000, then suddenly 5,000, then 1,000 as our drops between each of those. It's a little bit suspect. I want to keep my eye on that. But still super strong to be seeing this kind of read through continue to happen. So I'm like really excited by this. Hey Yasmin, how's it going? All right, I'm going to catch up on any tips for targeting. Yeah, we are absolutely going to talk about targeting on this. Fear not. These are the images I use for these ads. They are, some of them are like I got the 2 dudes holding hands. Some of the stories for this author has, I'm actually marketing 3 different series for them right now. Some of them are more like roommates discover affection, and some of them are like go into a biker bar, get into trouble, and need strong man meat to protect me. So obviously you can see a bit of a difference between some of the art that I've used for these different covers. But one thing's for sure, like there is no doubt that this is gay romance here that we're talking about. And something that's really changed as well in the last couple of years is like, especially that bottom right image, you could not show that image 2 or 3 years ago. You would get dinged hard for that. Not dinged hard, but they would take it down. They would reject the ad. But that just doesn't happen anymore. Like you can put men kissing or women kissing all you want on Facebook, and those ads will get through. And as you can see, they have, and they're doing really well. So this is part of what I meant by like not sugarcoating, not trying to hide what it is, just coming right out and saying what it is. Now there are some scenarios where you can't do that. One of them, for example, is reverse harem, or harem for that matter, also known as why choose. They're a little bit particular about that, but not as particular as Amazon is on Amazon ads. I found I generally can actually be pretty clear what I'm talking about when it comes to why choose as well. And you can also use a lot of imagery to help show that. But I've worked with a number of authors where we've just been almost completely explicit about it being wide choose. So imagery is a little bit harder, and if you want to make non-AI photos for wide choose, you'd have to composite something together because you're not going to find many, if any, pictures of like four guys looking romantically at one girl in a way that's not creepy. And these are some of the some example headlines that I've used. You know, um, these aren't the exact headlines from this ad because I don't have permission from this author to directly identify everything that we're doing for them. So, so I changed a few of the details everywhere actually. But you know, I'm using words that are telling people what it's about. I'm not hiding the fact that it's MM. I'm saying it plainly that it's MM. And then, you know, I'm doing some things that are just saying, and then some things that are showing. So I've got some telling and some showing in the mix here. And there's of course a slew of headlines in there as well. I'm not using any excerpts on these ones actually, just because the excerpts, no, actually I am. A couple of them have excerpts, but some of them I don't because what I had was too steamy and I couldn't put it on Facebook. All right, so all right, that's it. That is the end of my slideshow. Just walking through that stuff. OMG, they were roommates. Al wants to know who this is now. Al wants to read. William Stacy says, is it just MM that Facebook is relaxing the standards for? IEMFFF. It's relaxed in general. Like I've been finding lately with Facebook ads, if it's so long as the words aren't political, I haven't found a word that you can't put into a Facebook ad. I have an excerpt from one author where in the excerpt it's talking a fair bit about the size of someone's penis, you know, and that got through. Shit, fuck, those can all get through. It's Facebook's pretty good now about letting that stuff through. I think because they've created and done a bunch of work on what's called their brand protection stuff, where as a marketer, you can choose what kind of content your ads show up nearby. So you can say like, I don't want my ads to show up by any content that might contain profanity or anything lewd or anything like that. And then that way brands can kind of protect themselves without Facebook being draconian. Yeah, and it could also be that they are to a certain extent really focused on making sure nothing political happens. In fact, you can't even make any ads. I think starting next week they have anything having to do with politics in them. They won't let you even create them. So if you have a book about politics, you're just going to get the immediate rejection next week. Although I've found that in practicality, the immediate rejection started happening earlier this month. PNRRH? Oh yeah, absolutely, Linda. I work with a number of clients where we advertise PNRRH. I work with clients that write Omegaverse, and we advertise Omegaverse. And I'm pretty sure we say Omega in the ads. Yeah, we do. Yeah. So you can absolutely. I mean, you can advertise in Omegaverse. The one thing we haven't talked about in that one is nodding penises. I think that's where we decided to draw the line on that. But like you can do a lot. And I think those of you who've been listening to me lately talk about things I've mentioned again and again that we need, as authors, we need to stop sugarcoating what we're writing because that ends up sort of becoming misrepresentation to readers. And we need to stop like burying the lead and not being very clear what we're advertising. It's really important to just come out and say what our books are about. And it works tremendously well. Amy said, did you run reel ads for this campaign at all? I haven't even started running reels for this client yet. This is all still image ads at this point, which is part of what's blowing my mind. And to be honest, this particular client is not like the best performing client that I run ads for. But it's probably in like the top 5 to 10%. So not everybody does this well, or at least not everybody knocks it out of the park this quickly. And a lot of it is her covers and her blurbs are perfect as well. Like they're really good. She just says everything exactly as it needs to be said. Okay, yeah, so Al's running Omegaverse as well. So yeah, if you're running Omegaverse, like PNRRH should be fine. Yasmin says, I have trouble marketing a post-apocalyptic because my character's name is Fury and they refuse to allow the ad, saying it might scare viewers. Was a woman holding a flaming sword? That might be the AIs getting you. One of the things about Facebook lately is that if you have an ad that's rejected, there's a button to request a review. If you do that, an AI will review it, and it will probably make the same decision it made the first time. And once two decisions have been made, then nothing can be changed. So don't ever, if with Facebook now, don't opt for the automatic review. Open a support ticket and talk to a human, and that will help you. Actually, the humans will actually make a sane decision, and you'll be fine. Also, just you could just not mention your character's name. that's obviously one of the ways around it. Playing you and its twin a second later. I'm sorry, Fiona. I'm sorry I'm having audio problems today. Are the folks on YouTube also having audio problems, or is it just on Facebook that's having that? So William, in our group, they're in the advanced Facebook ads section, which you'll get access to shortly. It just has to wrap up first. There's going to be like a whole 3 or 4 videos of me working with people on making reels and walking through how to make reels. I think also the basic one that you have access to now has some reel making content in it as well. So it'd be like a good starting point. I make them in Canva, but I don't even use video background. I just use still images and they work great. Yasmin, the YouTube right now is, well, there's 2 of them. There's one, if you just search for Mallory Cooper, you'll find it. And the other one is for the Writing Wives, but that one's unlisted because I'm going to be ending actually fairly shortly for the public one, and then just people in our membership are going to we're going to keep chatting about this afterward. So James and I seem fine. Oh wait, no, Al says I have YouTube problems, and James says I seem fine on YouTube. So I don't know what to say. Let me try something crazy here. Hold please. It just occurred to me that I'm using a USB for my audio here. All right, how's about now? Better? Oh, yeah. If you have me open on YouTube and Facebook, yes, you're definitely going to get an echo. That's good to know, too. Well, hopefully, I have chat visible, so if the audio stops now at this point, I'll see it right away. Whereas before I was over in PowerPoint, so I didn't see, and Jill had to come and like open the door. But yeah, so just for those of you who missed my spiel at the beginning, we have a membership out now at a place called Skool, Skool. You can get there by going to get access by going to storytellerlab.net, and we're trying to build that into like a community where we are providing basically every single piece of knowledge inside of our brains that we've accumulated by publishing our own books and by working with literal hundreds and hundreds of authors over the years publishing their books. In fact, I've learned far more working with other authors than I ever learned on my own, although I feel like I learned a fair bit. I did 130 books. And Jill's got me writing Inner Snow Globe Mafia now, so more books are to come. But you can join our membership self-paced for only $37 a month, and then we have like more advanced ones as well, where you get to join our roundtables and whatnot. But I'm going to be ending this call here shortly for those of you who are on Facebook, and then just going over to people on our membership on YouTube. You guys can just stay there, and it will keep going. So yeah, I'm glad I'm super clear, and I'm upset that I'm having so much trouble with this. The building my own microphone is coming up my list. Yep, if you're members of Skool, you just stay there. Yep. So actually, with that, I did come to the end of my spiel for Lunch with Mal. So I'm gonna end it. It feels weird. I'm like ending it for everybody else, but some people get to stay. But if anybody has any final questions, who are with us on Facebook, we can talk about any last final questions anyone might have had before my mic went wonky.
If not, then I'll just mosey on over. So I won't be doing this all the time. This is sort of just something I'm probably gonna do once or twice a month. We're gonna have like, the after show over on YouTube. Oh, did you miss targeting? That's right. I'm sorry, Al. I got distracted by things. Um, so generally speaking, I find, yeah, you do, honey. That is a really old pick. I find that genre targeting most of the time works well. Like if you're writing contemporary romance, just target contemporary romance because all you're really trying to do is get readers who read contemporary romance, and then your ad creative should be doing the work of filtering people in and out at that point. Like one of those little color sorting machines, you're out, you're in, you're out, you're in. That's what your ad creative should be doing. But when you go genre, it gets tricky when you're like deep in genre and you start getting niche like romance, because if you just target contemporary romance for your steamy romance, you're getting a lot of people who don't like it and they might report your ad, and it might just take Facebook a really long time and a whole bunch of your money to figure out who to show your ad to. So in that case, I tend to target authors in romance land. I target authors by heat level. So if I'm writing even if the isn't particularly steamy, I tend to target more high heat, erotic, steamy authors because they're less likely to have readers who are going to report the ad. So at least I can get that problem resolved. So the more niche you go, the more fine-tuned you need to go. And generally the best way to fine-tune is by authors. You can fine-tune by TV shows and whatnot, but TV shows tend to reach outside a person's reading genre. Like I'll watch urban fantasy all day long, but I don't read urban fantasy, as an example. But I do read. So it can be a little bit tricky. So authors are the best way to do it. And that's what I found has worked the best in romance land, especially for anything I need to do where I'm doing something high heat or something queer or something like that. I just go by author targeting. The only other place where sometimes where like an unexpected sort of author targeting works is if you're writing thrillers and you have women protagonists. You generally have to find thrillers where women are the protagonists. If you try to target like David Baldacci and Lee Child and stuff like that, and you won't actually sell very many. You won't get very good conversions for female protagonists ones. So you actually have to kind of drill down and find books that are more like that, or authors at least sometimes write with female protagonists for those to work. Oh, did you, William? Midjourney may not be the best for that. There might be other ones you'd want to use to alter your headshot. But hopefully that kind of gives some thoughts on targeting. I know it's really brief, but perhaps we can talk about some more detail about that when I switch over, which I'm going to do now. So it was awesome chatting with everybody over on Facebook land. And I'll be back again next Thursday, of course. And who knows, I might be in costume because it is October and we're marching toward Halloween. So I feel like that's got to go, or got to cruise along. So yeah. So I'm gonna click the buttons and hope they work. And again, it was awesome chatting with everybody on YouTube side. Now, how do I take things out? All right. See you guys.